to name my lessons and everything, and I just wanted to share this with you real quick. It's just kind of funny. I hate geese. I can't stand them. I've never eaten goose before, though, so maybe if I tried them, I'd like them a little bit better, but I really don't like them. They're always in the way, and they're just obnoxious. But it doesn't really have anything to do with the lesson. I just wanted to share that with you. The name of this lesson is the Goose Theory, and I promise it's going to come in later, but it's way later, so just bear with me for a few minutes. Hebrews 2:1. I have been reading a bunch through Psalms and everything, but I came across Hebrews in a lesson that my dad did a little while ago, and I really started thinking about it. But I'd like to ask you a question. You ever forgotten something? Forgotten a toothbrush on your way to a trip or something, and you're a couple hours into your trip, and then you realize, I forgot my toothbrush. But it's okay, because you can buy one when you get there. But I'm sure all of us have forgotten something at one point or another. You get a sinking feeling a few hours into whatever you're doing, and then you realize, oh man, I needed that. I have a couple of funny stories and one kind of serious story today, but the first one is my first apartment. I lived with one other guy, had one roommate, and he and I, our door was kind of broken. So our deadbolt wouldn't latch the right way, and we were both kind of too, I want to say too busy, but we were really too lazy to do it. We just didn't fix it. So instead of doing that, we would lock just the handle. But in the mornings, it takes me a few minutes to get ready. I got to do my hair and everything. But I would lock the door from the inside and then close it with my keys on the outside. Saved me about 2 seconds. It's great. But every once in a while, and I say every once in a while, but I mean this happened quite a few times, I would get outside. I had locked the door from the inside, close the door, turn around, start walking toward my car, and realize my keys are inside. Fortunately, I had a roommate, though, so I would call him at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, hey, I need you to open the door. He was real happy with me when I did that. This happened more than I'd like to admit. It's happened quite a few times, unfortunately. You'd think that I'd learn, but I really didn't. But I have a part of this story that I've never told anyone before. So you're lucky enough to hear this for the first time. It was an early morning. I had to get up insanely early, so I was not really thinking very well. And I locked the door from the inside, closed the door, and I realized I locked myself out. I pulled my phone out to call my roommate, but I realized that my roommate was out of town. So I've never told anybody this, so yeah. But I had to call my shop, and they had to come and give me a key to take my car. Fortunately, my roommate was coming home that night, so I wasn't locked out for very long. I just couldn't get back in to get my keys. The feeling that I had when I realized that I didn't have my keys and my roommate wasn't there to bail me out, I was scared. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to be in all kinds of trouble. It's terrible. It's like a sinking feeling almost. It's almost like going on a roller coaster, and right before that drop hits, you go down, and your stomach kind of rises up and everything, and it's kind of scary for a second there. That's kind of how I felt. Everything turned out okay. I was late for work and everything, but it worked out in the end. My shop was able to come and drop me off a key. That early in the morning, my brain doesn't really work, but I feel like there was more to it than just that. I got myself distracted. I was thinking about other things. I was thinking about, where's my shirt? Where's my work shirt? Where are my keys? What do I need for the day? Everything like that. And I wasn't really thinking about what I needed right then. Unfortunately, it ended up really, really messing up my day. It made it difficult for me to kind of get going. In Hebrews, it says, for this reason, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard so that we will not drift away from it. We must pay much closer attention. We've gone over losing something, but in my opinion, there's something worse. She's not here tonight, my little sister, but I was going to embarrass her. It's a bummer. But this was a long time ago. We lived in a small town called Altus, Oklahoma. And we were all heading home from church and everything. It was a Sunday night. And my dad had brought his car and my mom had brought her car. So both of them had thought that Rachel was with them. Fortunately, it was a small town, so they didn't have to drive very far to go back and get her. But we all got home that night, and my parents were talking to each other, and then they're like, "Where's Rachel?" And you could see the panic kind of start to set in and everything. And I have a feeling they kind of got that same feeling of, oh no, something's missing. I don't have everything here. So that feeling of losing something because you're not paying attention, because you're not really in the moment. It happens a lot. I'm sure it's happened to you guys as well. We don't necessarily know who wrote Hebrews, but we believe that it could be Paul. And if it was Paul, I believe that he wrote this verse for a reason. I believe he wrote it for more than one reason, actually. The first reason would be it's a warning to show how crucial it is to focus on what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're reading in our Bibles, what we're learning in church, what's going on around us. It's important for us to focus on our spiritual growth with God, to grow and learn what it is that we need to do in order to become Christians, in order to be saved. This makes us steadfast Christians. It makes us unshakable in our faith, to prevent ourselves from drifting. I have one more story. This one I heard from my dad because he was doing a lesson about drifting. And that's kind of what I'm wanting to warn us all about tonight. And I'm talking to myself just as much as I am any of you. Two men were fishing on a river near a dam. As they were concentrating on their fishing, they became distracted, and they didn't realize that their boat had begun to follow the current near the edge of the dam. By the time they realized what had happened, they were so distracted that they didn't have enough time to really do anything about it, and unfortunately they went over the edge and passed away. They weren't able to really rescue themselves from that situation. They realized too late that they were in severe trouble. The sad thing about it is that this could have been easily avoided. But they were so focused on what wasn't really important that they ended up losing their lives because of it. They lost more than just their keys, more than just their kids. They lost everything because of a silly mistake. If you look back at Hebrews 1 verses 2, I'm going to read 2 through 3. For this reason, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard so that we will not drift away from it. For if the word spoken through angels is proven unalterable, and every transgression and disobedience received a just penalty, then how will we escape if we neglect so great a salvation? After it was at the first spoken, I think I wrote this down wrong, I apologize. After it was first spoken through the Lord, it was confirmed to us by those who heard it. I think neglect is the perfect word for this. Neglecting something that could save your life will always prove to be fatal. Unfortunately, we don't always see the danger coming before it's far too late. We get set in our ways, become so comfortable living our lives, we forget where it is our keys are. We forget that maybe we don't really have all our kids. These moments can be stressful. They can be scary. And it's so easy for us to forget what's important, what we need in order to continue living. And these mistakes, these moments can make us lose our lives, lose whatever it is. But I'm not just talking about our physical life here. I'm talking about our spiritual one. So if it's so important to remember your kids, to remember your keys and everything, to remember that maybe there's something dangerous around the corner, shouldn't it be more important to us to realize that this world, everything around us is not permanent? Our spiritual lives are so much more important than our physical ones. So shouldn't it be our priority to realize that we kind of need to focus on what we need to? So I believe that's the first part of that verse, that we desperately need to focus on ourselves to make sure that we're okay spiritually, that we're saved. But I think that there's a second part to this verse as well. So bear with me for a couple seconds. It all makes sense here in the end, but yeah. If you had been there in my apartment that morning, and you saw me leaving, and you saw my keys on the table, what would you have done? Would you have been like, hey, got your keys over there, don't forget them? If you'd seen my parents walking away without their kid, you'd probably have to convince them to take her, but, you'd let them know that, hey, your kid's in here. You'd tell them, hey, this is not okay, you need to remember that. If you'd seen those men fishing and they were drifting closer and closer to the edge, wouldn't you warn them? You'd tell them that they were in danger. You'd tell them that they're missing something. And I think that's the second part of this verse. I think that it's necessary for us to be strong in Christ, to be saved. But I also think that after that, there's more to it. I have a really close group of friends. And I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here. So, we've been friends for a very, very long time. And recently I've noticed that some of them, and this isn't just my group of friends, but people in high school, people that I've known for a long time, and I'm sure the older people in here know what I'm talking about, and they've seen it a lot more than I have. But you notice that they start to act differently. You notice that they start to drift. And in those situations, I think it's necessary for us to be ready to try and warn them that they don't have their keys. In the past, I've let myself get distracted. It becomes easier and easier, I think, and you start to become more involved in your own life, and you kind of feel that you're not really paying attention to what's going on around you. So I've noticed that some of my friends have begun to drift, and I think that's the reason that Paul put this in there, is so that way we can realize that even if you are a Christian, you're going to have those moments where you start drifting. So I think that this is where it kind of starts to make sense with the goose, I promise. Sorry, I lost my spot here. I feel like the benefits of knowing what you're doing and knowing that you're okay with God are more than just there for you to feel safe. Having enough knowledge to feel that safety in God gives you more than an opportunity to have eternal life. It gives you the opportunity to realize those around you might not be okay, giving you and I the chance to show them that their boat might be drifting toward the edge. Helping them to remember what's more important in life. Not school, not work, not life. All this is temporary. But God in His Word, that's eternal. To realize that and to help others realize that as well. I believe that's what this verse means. I believe there's two parts to it. A message and a warning. To be mindful of your spiritual walk with God, but also to be mindful of those around you. Now to the reason I call it the goose theory. I was watching Animal Planet, and there's a reason why geese fly in a V pattern. And I didn't know this until the other day. But they fly Here it is. They fly in that pattern to help each other. The one in the front does the most of the work, but the one behind him, when that goose is flying, it causes lift. And that lift goes underneath the wings and then goes underneath or behind him. So the goose behind him will actually use the lift from the goose in front of him to kind of help himself fly. So what they do is they assist each other while they're flying. A lone goose, a goose that's by itself, can travel 70% less than what they could if they're in a group. So they can't travel nearly as far as they can if they're actually flying in that V formation. That's one very cool thing about geese. But there's also a second part to it. If a goose becomes injured or sick, it starts kind of declining and tries to land and everything. If the other geese see that, they will actually send 2 other geese down with it to try and assist it. And they'll stay there with it until it's better and until it's feeling okay, or if it passes away. They'll both stay there, and then they'll join a group after it becomes better, or whatever happens, and they'll try and catch back up. They're there for each other constantly. The amazing thing about God's creation is that I think this was done on purpose, to show that even geese are there for each other, even though I can't stand them. I believe we can take a note from the geese. Being there for one another is necessary on so many levels. And I think that's why God made it to where we have the church. Because we are geese, unfortunately. We're here to help each other out. When we see that someone is drifting, when we see that someone's not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's when we need to kind of swoop down and be with them until they're able to get back on their feet. Being there for one another is absolutely necessary. It's crucial for those who are weaker, for those who are not as spiritually strong, for them to grow and to realize that there's more important things than just life. And obviously I'm not saying this to get on to anybody. I'm talking to myself just as much as I am you. But I think that we need to pay attention more. I think there's so many people that are flying under the radar. They're doing what they need to do to really be a Christian. But they're not flying straight. So pay close attention. Make sure that you are where you need to be spiritually, and then look around at those who are around you. See who might need help. And maybe you can be the light to someone who desperately needs it. If there's anyone who needs anything tonight, please come forward as we stand and sing.